Welcome to the Hymn of Ash and Echo. Twice a week, I post short stories, horror, fantasy, sci-fi, thrillers, and anything else my brain cooks up between books. You'll find ghosts, monsters, magic, and the kind of suspense that sticks around a little too long. If that sounds like your kind of fun, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now, back to the story. Thin Place. Light mist clung to the river and the surrounding area, the morning sunlight making it glow, creating a beautiful image for any who stopped to admire it. Not Haldric, though. He rode through the mist, moisture clinging to his hair and cloak. The horse under him neighed and complained, but he didn't slow. He couldn't. Wolfhelm's barge would reach the township of Bachmarkt before nightfall, and Haldric needed to be there. He needed to get on that barge, and if the stolen horse couldn't keep up, he would run. He needed to move, to continue, finish the list in East Drevland, and leave this cursed place behind. Haldric patted the beast's neck, removing his heels from its sides. They slowed, and the horse seemed grateful. "Sorry," Haldric muttered to it. It wasn't the animal's fault they were late. It was Haldric's. He was the one who took his time hunting in Osthafen. He was the one who missed the barge 2 days ago, lying in a drunken stupor, seeing his home burn, witnessing his family die over and over again, seeing that little red-haired child, an oversized axe in his hand. That was a new one, a fresh nightmare born of his own actions. He thought he had outgrown them. He thought he outran them, and yet one found him. Why? The dirt road veered off to the right, into the forest, and the horse followed it. No prompting needed. Whoever trained it did a fine job. Will he be able to find his way home? Haldric asked himself, looking at the animal. No, probably not. And he probably wouldn't last the week. Not with how Haldric rode him. They entered the forest proper, the thin mist clinging to trees, shining with the morning light, and obstructing the world, hiding the path ahead and the river to their left. Its roar, the only indication it was there at all. It almost sounded angry, almost human-like. Haldric pressed his heels back in, pushing them on. The horse neighed again, shaking its head, but its pace quickened. They galloped through a misty forest, following an unseen river, rushing after yet another man on his list. The horse lurched, and Haldric's stomach dropped, as if they had slammed into something invisible. But the horse didn't stop. It surged forward, and the world bent around them. Trees and mist stretched and warped, shadows turning to ghosts, and the river's roar shrank to a whisper. Grimvold's pause. Haldric pulled on the reins, but it was too late. They were already deep in the Thin Place. How hadn't he noticed it sooner? Where was the Weirdbaum? And more importantly, where was the way out? The pudgy earth scent filled his nose, moisture in his hair turning to water droplets. A shadow moved over them, a gigantic bird gliding through the sky. Something howled in the distance. The horse danced nervously. Shh! Haldric patted its neck, pushing it to move, slow and steady. They had to stay calm and find a way out without a wighten to guide them. Shadows rose around them, some moving, some static, but all were watching them, waiting for them. Haldric, the wind whispered his name. Have you forgotten us? Haldric turned his eyes downwards, watching the horse's neck, watching the dirt under its hooves. Have you forgotten your gods? The wind asked. Have you forgotten your blood? He ignored the taunt, sweaty palms holding the reins tight. As long as the voice didn't manifest, they were safe as long as it didn't take shape. An old man stepped out of the mist, directly into their path. The beast neighed, pulling back. You cannot ignore me, the old bearded man said, the bone totems on his walking stick rattling in the wind. Not after invoking my name, Grimvold or his avatar? Haldric thought. studying the golden eyes. His knees grew weak. His heart threatened to break out of its cage. His mind bent at the vast well of power behind those golden eyes. You should know better, son of Eltz. Riding blindly into a thin place, calling to me from within. Is it really you? Haldric asked, his voice cracking only a little. Does it matter? The old man pointed with his stick. Me or my avatar? There is nothing you can do. Haldric nodded. That was true, and he didn't trust himself to speak. Nor was he sure he could speak. It was a fight just to breathe. But no, you son of Eltz are not worthy of my whole. You get a piece of me, and be lucky it is so. Haldric felt the urge to show gratitude, drop to his knees, and kiss the old man's feet. To thank him for such generosity. Still fighting me? Grimvold's lips twitched up, an amused smile adorning his face. That's impressive. He tapped his staff against the dirt. The mist parting around a short, gnarled oak tree with barely any leaves. The word bomb, his way out. Haldric glanced at the bearded old man, his eye twitching. You might reject us, but we don't reject you. Not yet, at least. But walk with care, son of Eltz. Blood demands blood. I demand satisfaction. I demand justice. His voice turned into a whisper again, and he walked forward, the brown fur over his shoulders dancing in the wind. But I'm also a god of change, metamorphosis, and you are frozen in time. Grow, my pup. Take your place and live. Don't just remember. Haldric nodded, again feeling the need to drop to his knees, but luckily he sat on the horse. Luckily, he couldn't kneel, no matter how much he wanted to. Grimvold glanced at the Weirdbaum, shook his head, and walked away. The mist parted for him before swallowing him whole. Haldric sagged in the saddle, every muscle in his body going limp. The horse shook under him, its hair standing on end. Shh, I know, Haldric whispered, nudging the horse to the Weirdbaum, to his compass in this place. Weirdbaum seemed like most others, short, ancient, and barely clinging to life, radiating with power. The power that healed, corrupted, unveiled hidden paths and truths. The power that connected their world with the gods, allowing men to interact with the divine, and much more. But at this moment, Haldric wanted none of that. He only wanted it to show him the way out of the thin place. His hand hovered over the gnarled bark, his mind envisioning the world outside this place, calling to it, wishing to know how to get to it. Haldric leaned on the Weirdbaum, wishing for a way out. Hopes and wishes are for children and fools, the wind whispered as the ground under their feet trembled. And you are no fool. The earth swallowed them. Haldric hit the ground hard, a tiny whimper escaping his lips. Come on, boy, get up, his father said, a wooden sword in one hand, a whip in the other. Haldric turned around, seeing Villa Eltz for the first time in 20 years. No? What? He had lived there for the last 6 months since they left the palace. Boy, don't make me whip you, his father said, his stern voice tinged with humor. As if you can use that thing, said an old woman, holding someone in her hands. Hildera, his little sister, surprise and pain tore through his gut. Why? Haldric stood, looking around. Light mist hung in the air as the sun sank deeper in the west. Be quiet, old woman. We are training here, his father responded, raising his sword. Ready? Haldric looked at the wooden sword in his hand, a perfect Sax replica. Yeah, he smiled and sprang at his dad. Their wooden swords clashed, and Haldric landed on his ass again. Again. Grimling ran past them, chasing insects. He stood, grinning like a fool, though it slipped away. Father? He pointed with his wooden sword at dozens of riders approaching. "Who is that?" "Frozen in time," whispered a voice beside him. Haldric sprang away, wooden sword trained at the old man dressed in furs, his eyes glowing golden. "Disappointing," the man said, turning to look over their estate. At their house, guards filing out. At his father shouting orders. "Hiding here, of all places?" "Who are you?" Haldric whispered. "You know who I am, son of Eltz, and you know what this is." The world around him spun. Their home burned. Haldric bled, lying on his back, watching his father beg, men laughing at him, his own older brother doing so too. Haldric's uncle lifted his axe and Haldric screamed. The world went black, then white. The golden eyes looked at him again, sad and angry. "You died here. You came to my domain." Grimvold tapped his chest with his staff. Haldric gasped, rising. He stepped out of his child body and into his scarred and broken one. "I sent you back for that." He pointed with his finger at a baby boy, maybe 3 years old, crying next to his mother, the only surviving member of the massacre. An older man, scared and angry, rushed into the mayhem, grabbing his baby brother and running away. Haldric heard his own voice beg and whisper, "Enough with the self-pity!" Grimvold growled. "Enough with the self-destruction!" he bellowed, his face elongating, the furs around his shoulders growing, engulfing him. "Enough with all of that!" God's roar shattered the vision into pieces. Haldric found himself on the stolen horse, in the middle of a thin place. Grimvold transforming before him, into a massive black and gray-furred mountain Bergtant with golden eyes and sharp teeth. The horse screamed in terror and rose on its hind legs. Haldric fell out of the saddle, hitting the ground hard, and watched the stolen mount run. He watched Grimvold's paw swing. He heard the animal screech. He saw it break. "Move!" His mind screamed at him. "Run!" Haldric watched the Bergtant turn and snarl. He watched the god pounce. Haldric rolled, a knife flying out of his hand. It struck the Bergtant's snout and bounced harmlessly off. Flying into the mist, Haldric ran into the trees. He ducked and jumped as a massive black and gray beast crashed into the trees, snapping trunks like twigs. Haldric slid across the landscape, pushing deeper into the thin place, unsure of where he was going. Weirdbaum revealed no path for him to follow. It revealed nothing. Haldric just ran, deeper into the glowing mist, towards another massive shadow inside it. Grimvold howled behind him. Massive paws shook the ground as it ran, its colossal shape visible even in the glowing mist. The ground shook. Shadows grew, bigger and bigger, until it stopped, until it disappeared. It flew over him. Haldric skidded to a stop, watching Bergtant's shadow fly through the mist. The ground quaked when it touched down. Graceful and swift as it spun on him, teeth bared and spit dripping, it began circling him, pushing Haldric back into that dark silhouette. It took one step forward, and Haldric moved further back, ready to run. But he had no chance. The Bergtant moved, swift as the wind. The massive snout collided with Haldric's chest, knocking the breath out of him, and yet he rolled with the impact, hitting something hard. Haldric crumpled to the ground, face buried deep into the dirt. "Move!" His mind screamed as the ground around him shook. "Get up!" Haldric felt something warm trickle down his neck. Grimvold's snarl tore through the forest, his paws tossing up dirt. He felt something warm and wet around his leg, the world spinning around him. But he planted his arms and pushed himself up. "I will not die on my stomach," barely and painful. "Stand, damn it!" Haldric pushed and pushed, using the remaining strength to get up, to his knees, and no further. There was nothing more left within him. He knelt there, leaning against cool stone, his head bleeding, something warm and wet on his shin. "Did I piss myself?" Haldric asked himself, reaching for a knife. Grimvold stopped, cocking its head, eyes still glowing golden. a low growl emanating from its chest. Haldric's body vibrated, watching the god study him, its mouth open, showing sharp teeth and a long pink tongue. "Why stop?" Haldric asked, his hand grabbing something furry and soft. He looked down at a small, gray-furred bergtant at his side. It growled and snarled at Grimvold, drooling all over Haldric's leg, shivering with the effort. "What?" Grimvold's staff tapped Haldric's chest. He looked up at the old, bearded man again, a smile on his lips. "Now is that hard?" Grimvold asked. "What?" Haldric splattered. "To kneel for me." Grimvold tapped his staff, the mist thinning further. "To accept my offering?" Haldric blinked at the god, not comprehending, unsure if it was the head trauma or the broken sentences. "Remember your purpose, son of Eltz. Remember your blood." He turned away. "Remember your god, and don't make me reach out again." Grimvold vanished, leaving Haldric kneeling in the slowly retreating thin place, a bergtant cub at his side. Mist cleared fully, and the stone mountain he crashed against turned out to be a rocky outcropping, maybe 2 feet tall, with an entrance into a den of some kind, where the little bergtant sat, his fluffy fur tangled in knots of dirt and blood. "What?" Haldric breathed, watching the beast sniff his belt. It bit into it and pulled out a dry sausage, devouring it in seconds. "What?" he muttered again, before the darkness claimed him. Haldric floated in the dark, dreamless land, feeling oddly at peace, probably because his body didn't ache and his family wasn't screaming around him, being slaughtered. But this place of darkness, while still, wasn't quiet. Whining and lapping filled the silence. So did warmth, particularly on his upper back and neck, as if someone had placed a heating stone on him. Pain slowly crept back in, a trickle at first. But as soon as the dam opened, lightning flashed. His eyes shot open, blinking green grass out of his eyes, spitting dirt and blood out of his mouth, or he tried to. Something warm and furry held him down. Claws bit into his back, a rough tongue licking his wounds. The bergtant cub was licking his wounds clean and whining while doing it. Haldric pushed the beast away, sitting up, unsure of what was going on, unsure how he was still alive. Was any of that real? As if the cub read his mind, he attacked Haldric's belt again, snacking on yet another piece of smoked and salted meat. "I don't think that's good for you," he said, rubbing his head and looking around. The thin place had retreated, where to he didn't know, probably to its original boundaries. "You need fresh food," the cub whined. Haldric grunted. He jumped up and ran a circle around Haldric, then ran off toward the Virdbaum. "Don't go in there!" The thing stopped, turning in a circle, and sat down, looking into the thin place. Haldric stood, slow and unsteady, the whole world spinning. "I need a surgeon," he thought, pushing forward. The cub sat just outside the shimmering line, one side filled with mist, the other with clear morning air. And where they met, reality blurred, becoming unstable. And here, his knife waited for him at the border, half buried in the earth, not where he'd thrown it, not even close. Haldric grabbed the handle, his fingers crossing into the thin place, where he saw the horse he had stolen, lying dead and broken, not 10 passes from the border. All his gear still attached to it. "Stay here," he told the cub, taking the knife and stepping inside. The mist thickened, the shadows lengthened, and the sounds distorted. The pungent smell of earth filled his nose again as Haldric reached the stolen horse. Its neck bent at a sickening angle, its back broken where a massive paw slapped it. "I'm sorry," he muttered to it, patting its neck and closing its dead eyes. The poor thing didn't deserve to be brutally killed like that. And if I rode it to death? Haldric asked himself, unstrapped the saddlebag. All the same, he concluded, pulling his gear free. A crunching sound filled the eerie quiet. Haldric drew the sacks, eyes scanning the shadows and trees around him. The sound continued, followed by a high-pitched growl. The cub had its head deep in the horse's neck, blood splattering his gray fur, and he bit and tore into the meat and muscle. Haldric watched for a moment longer, slung his pack over one shoulder, and turned toward the forest's edge. East, to Bachmarkt. The barrier suddenly visible to his plain eye, no Weirdbaum needed. "Come on, boy," he said and started walking. The beast growled in disapproval, still eating his fill. Haldric turned around, watching the little beast eat. What should I do with him, he thought, kneeling and slicing out a big chunk of horse meat. The cub turned after him, licking his bloody snout. He looked horrifying, such a small creature covered in blood. But he wasn't one to judge. "Come on," Haldric said, setting off to find yet another name on his list. The cub ran behind him, jumped on his back. The claws dug deep as it climbed him like a tree. Haldric grunted as he finally lay to rest on his shoulders, his fluffy tail tickling his neck and ear on one side, and the whiskers tickling his other ear and neck. This will be a long walk, he thought, breaking the barrier, and the thing on his shoulder began purring. "You need a name," Haldric muttered, watching the big green eyes. So intelligent, so aware, almost like a human child. "Bub," he called him, and the pup seemed happy with that name. You've just listened to Thin Place, the 4th installment in my Kill List Saga. I post new stories twice a week, with the Kill List Saga and the Collapse running side by side. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe for more, and don't miss the Collapse if you're into zombie survival horror. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.